A lot of audiophile discussion revolves around in-ear monitors or over-ear headphones, but there's a whole third category that I think gets neglected a little too often, and that's the on-ear category. Over-ears, headphones that would sit around your ear. In-ear monitors, kind of self-explanatory, but they go in your ear canal. But on-ears sit right on your ear. Now, maybe you might associate that with like kind of retro style headphones, but these headphones, I promise you, are very, very new. They are the Zaylli Lyro, and they have a couple of really, really unique features. On the box, there's nothing too fancy. This is a Founders Edition version because this is a Kickstarter, which we usually don't cover here on ShortCircuit because we want to make sure that if people are going to be sending their money anywhere, they're sending it to trustworthy established brands, but this was too cool to pass up. What is their logo? Is it a whale going like backwards though? Like like an orca, it's the belly of the orca whale? I don't know. We're getting so distracted. Let's see what's inside of the box. Inside we have, look at that, these are small. These are supposed to be headphones with a fabric hard shell carrying case and a little strap. Honestly, nice little case. Underneath the case we find two cables, a shorter looking braided white cable that terminates in a TRS connector, and MMCX, which is unconventional for headphones. These are something you might find on some IEMs. One of the nice things about this connector is that it allows like things to rotate really easily, like the cables can rotate freely. The issue with the connector is that it's only rated for like 500 or so matings, which means that like if you're swapping the cables out a lot, I don't know, these are just flimsy. They're like the connectors that you find on your Wi-Fi card in your computer, and if you've ever messed with like the little Wi-Fi card in your laptop, you know that that's the worst connector of all time. Overall, the cable quality feels pretty nice. With the shorter cable, you also have a cinch for keeping the wires like kind of out of the way. It's a very short cable. The other cable in the box terminates in 3.5 millimeter, has the MMCX, and includes an inline microphone as well as controls. Through the Kickstarter, you do get to choose your own cable loadout, but it's kind of weird that this one has branding and then this looks relatively generic, even if it is like kind of a nice braided cable. It does have like more memory than I would like. This cable seems much nicer to me compared to this one, which feels kind of dime a dozen. But we're probably gonna try it out because it has the microphone on it, and that is a feature. There's one more thing in here that I don't really know what it is. Is it like is it like that? Is it like a different headband style?
Neckband?
Oh, what? I feel like to figure out what I'm supposed to do with this, I need to see what's in here. So let's take a look. Oh. The inside of the liner is just kind of a generic kind of felt material, and these are the headphones. They're so dinky, and they're super duper lightweight. It reminds me of the Cosporta Pros with its thin metal headband, but one nice thing is that we get this silicone rubber tension relief strap, which is kind of nice, though silicone can be a little bit annoying on people's hair. Your mileage may vary, but the nice thing about it is that it's probably gonna be a lot more durable than the usual plastic leather that you get on a lot of headphones. The height adjusts in steps on either side. We also get to fold in the headphones. Like, wow, they're so small. And it appears that we can swap out the headband for a sportier kind of over the ears behind the neck vibe, if that's your thing. To disengage the drivers from the headband, you just press on this little button and then they come right out. And that means that we could toss them on our sporty one. One of the goals that Zaylli has with this is to kind of start building a modular headphone ecosystem so you can get the exact kind of thing that you want with having the same kind of drivers. And that sense of customizability comes into one of the most unique features about these drivers, and that is that they're custom tuned. This little knob on the back of each driver is a tuning knob that allows you to open and close the port in the back of the headphones, changing the bass response. It lets you dial these in to the perfect level of bass that you want. But just because they gave sound customization to you doesn't mean that they kind of just like forgot about making a good sounding headphone. The actual knob is supposed to be, in its most open state, representative of the diffuse field target, whereas if you up the bass a little bit more, it's gonna be more in line with a Harman target. I don't really have the time to go into the differences between those, but basically you can be assured that those are both highly regarded and quality headphone targets, though you might find that you're more likely to enjoy the Harman target, which is based more on average listener preference. But the good thing is, you got this dial. You can experiment with both using the same headphone. You could actually, if you want to, tune these individually based on the preference of each individual ear on your head, but you probably won't find that to be very useful because usually where your ears differ is going to be from like various different levels of wear at different frequencies, which are more likely to happen at high frequencies compared to the low frequencies that these are going to account for. Imagine it must work like any sort of valve where it's just like this might be all the way open and this is going to be all the way closed and it's just moving a little thing to block. I don't think you can screw it all the way in or screw it all the way out. The hinges, everything's just so lightweight on this. It all moves around so easily. And these ear cushions, I really like the fabric on these. It's kind of some sort of polyester blend type thing. And they're easily removable without any sort of tools. You can even actually get into the driver housing with what looks to be a hex screw, maybe a Torx, one of the two. It's very small, this screw. Let's get these things back on there. Let's figure out how to get these back on there. Oh, I never should have taken these off. Guys, we should probably just cut for a second.
Looking to game and stream on the go while you're trying to find that lost ark? Well, MSI's Raider 16 Max has everything you're gonna need in a single gaming laptop. You can get up to 300 watts of system power while still keeping components cool thanks to its large triple fan cooling and intra-flow design. All of your games are gonna look stunning on its 280Hz QHD OLED display. You'll even get a special discount if you snag one from Micro Center today. No need to swap it with a bag of sand. Grab yours from one of the links in the description.
10 minutes later, I finally got the ear cup back on. I hope that says more about the earphones and less about me. But now let's say something about what it's like to wear these. Usually when I'm wearing on-ear headphones, it's because I'm like working out. And I usually like a little bit more clamping pressure, but because these are so light, they stay on like really well. Like maybe a lot of repetitive motion if like your workout involves headbanging or something like that. It might be a little much, but I'm just surprised at how well these are staying on. There's like no clamping pressure. And I think that the ear cups are actually pretty nice. They might be a little warm for my liking, but that might just be that I'm used to a more pleather feel. In terms of cable noise, very little cable noise. It's not resonating too badly into the headphone. Obviously, like if you have a zipper, you're gonna get some vibrations still. But I'd say pretty good. Unlike the last set of headphones I looked at, these apparently are going to be pretty easy to drive, so we're gonna just try driving them out of my laptop. I am very interested to see how they sound, and I'm really interested to play with the tuning here. So let's get some music on. Yeah, these are super easy to drive. So when you're setting these and the line goes straight up, that's going to be targeting the diffuse field. It's gonna be less bass response. And when you have it at 90 degrees to that, perpendicular styles, that's gonna be more bass. So let's put on some music. I will say due to the lack of clamping force, these are a little bit more finicky to get like seated correctly on your head. All right, I've listened and I have a few thoughts. Honestly, the bass performance is quite good on these. They're not the bassiest headphones, but the cool thing is that you can kind of reel it in. For my preference, I thought they sounded best when they were just below the like fully bass mode. I think that brought enough warmth and oomph to the bass that I found really enjoyable, especially for the kinds of music that I like. And I found that the mids were reproducing a lot of sounds accurately and with clarity. And that extends to the treble in terms of clarity, but there's kind of some peaks in the treble here that honestly to me are not problematic at all, but impart a bit of character on the sound as opposed to being like super accurate or analytical. And if you're listening to like maybe some drier recordings, say like Gaucho by Steely Dan, or maybe some more like, you know, early hardcore underground punk rock or something, those treble peaks might become problematic. But for me, I thought that these sounded pretty cool, and the way that the treble was characterized brought out certain details in music that I kind of had forgotten or enjoyed. Like I found it to be, honestly, on the whole, pretty good. I found that you're more likely to get a difference in the sound signature by just adjusting these on your head a little bit compared to the knob. I think the knob is really novel, and also like the fact that if you were like, I want something that's gonna dial back the bass, a tuning that's gonna suit the kind of music that I wanna listen to, this is a really cool feature. It also makes sure that you have a higher likelihood of buying this headphone and getting the sound that you want out of it. The issue is that if there is that peakiness in the treble, that might be harder to tame. Something else that's gonna be true across all headphones is that if pads compress enough, right? Like if you have them pressed to your head, that changes the sound compared to having them kind of floating off to the side, and that's gonna have an effect too. I think that these are pretty cool and they sound pretty good. I am not sold on the comfort of these. I think I would personally like a different fabric. I found these to kind of be itchy on my ear, so I would have to swap the cups out, and that would take me like 20 minutes apparently to do. But that's all gonna be personal preference. Like your mileage really may vary. But what does the labs have to say? For those of you not familiar with our frequency response graphs, basically the white area on the graph is where most people will enjoy the sound. So a headphone that goes into that area is something that you're likely to enjoy. It doesn't exactly mean it's a good or bad headphone. In fact, you can have a bad sounding headphone that is all within that white area, or you can have a good sounding headphone that has a lot of stuff outside of it. It just means that for the average person, you will probably think that the headphone sounds good if it's inside of this white line. The red part is the response of these headphones across a few different testing apparatuses. Testing things. And we can see that there is some high variation in the treble. That can be in part due to the pad compression, so the shape of your head is going to be a factor, as well as just seating these properly on your head. It might be something that fits your preferred sound signature. I found that these kind of sound okay to me. But for a headphone that's really focusing on trying to give you like a way to dial in your sound, it's a shame that they kind of mess up the treble a little bit here. And of course, with this unique dial, we had to measure it across the different positions of the dial. And the graph really shows where and how much of an effect the dial has. And you can see at the top end that the dial does not really touch that area. But on the low end, there's quite a big difference between having the dial closed and open. I found that my favorite sound signature was gonna be like the blue line here, the second out of the 5 positions. You might find that it's a little bit bloated in the mid bass, but that's like my preference. I like a warmer sounding headphone. Overall, I think that these are a really neat product, and if you're an audio nerd, kind of a cool one to have in your collection. However, pricing is weird because it's a Kickstarter. They're kind of around the $200 mark, but that's for different sort of bundles. There's so many different options on the Kickstarter website, and we don't know what like final retail pricing is. We also don't know the reliability of this company, how their support's gonna be. So like if you are interested in getting these, be cautious and understand that there is risk inherent to backing any sort of Kickstarter, and that this company, maybe they'll deliver great on the Kickstarter and cease to exist in just a couple of years. It sucks, but it is just the risk that you're taking by doing a Kickstarter. If these are gonna be at $200, I think they're kind of a hard sell. If they can fix the treble stuff, I bet you these are probably gonna be more appealing to more people. And I think the novelty and it's just so cool. The build quality's decent, like the components are good, but it's kind of a niche product that's made even more niche by its cool little gimmick. I hope that these guys stick around. I would love to see this kind of tuning dial on like maybe a larger headphone. I see the potential here, and I would like to see you back here for another short circuit, so get subscribed. And if you enjoyed this video, why don't you check out the big JLab headphones that Dan covered. Those are a similar price. Actually, they might be cheaper, but they're super big. They're so dumb. They're so dumb. It's great. You gotta go watch the video.